Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. Hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? This software is absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. Vimeo, you kind of bite. Hey everybody, it's Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. I hope you're having a good one. What's good, what's good, what's good? So, you know what? Hold the phone, hold the phone. I know. Hold on a minute. Don't get upset. Sheesh. I know what I got to do. Ding, 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 ding. Bam. Is that better? That's better. That's absolutely better. So we've kind of had a better day. The best day? No, but we're over 90,000. We're out of the 80s and into the 90s. So not bad. Not bad at all. Tonight's question: who transferred 58,390 BTC or $5.1 billion to Fidelity? Was it Coinbase, Tether, BlackRock, or other? And if it's other, drop it in the comments. Whew. It wasn't a huge day. Right? I told you that, anything could happen on a day, during the holiday season. Anything can happen. And remember, the holiday in the United States is not a holiday anyplace else. So life goes on. You know what I mean? So tomorrow when I hop on, I'm not going to be, I'm not just going to be sitting there, eating all day, doing nothing. I'm going to be doing my research. I don't know about you, but I will definitely be doing my research. I don't know if I'll do a show. I don't think I'll be bold enough to do a show. Don't hold me to that. I mean, you know how it is. You get a lull in the day, and you're doing research anyway, and you wind up sitting there and you kind of go, maybe I should squeeze in a show. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not making any promises. There's a lot to do. So major banks like BlackRock, JP Morgan, HSBC accelerated tokenized real-world assets on the blockchain, as they say, offering yield-bearing, compliant digital tokens for bonds, loans, and commodities as a mainstream alternative to stablecoins. You should be paying attention to that. And some people are sitting back probably thinking, why would I pay attention to that? My hands sound dry. My hands sound like sandpaper. It happens. Happens to the best of us. Yo, the Hootanic. What's going on, man? Thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself. So why would I be paying attention to that? For a while now, I've been saying that I don't think stablecoins are going to be the place to be. For many reasons, I don't think that stablecoins are all that. And I know some people are thinking, Eddie, you're crazy. Okay, I'm crazy. I don't think stablecoins are all that. What else am I thinking? I'm also thinking that there's going to be a proliferation of stablecoins. And then there'll be a huge, just disposal of stablecoins. Possibly mergers in that space, right? But here's the problem with merging certain things, right? The issue with merging stablecoins, especially stablecoins that are pegged to the same fiat, okay? They offer nothing. Because if that stable coin disappears, all those people are just going to move to another stable coin. Facts. I don't need to buy that business. I don't need to buy that book of work, if you say. I don't need to buy those customers. I can just let them go out, and those customers, at least a percentage, will migrate, to the big stable coins. That's just going to be a fact. And that's if they ever won't go away. I don't think people are going to pull money out of this stablecoin to go with this new bank stablecoin. I think the only way that bank stablecoins are going to be able to do anything of any size is that people will put their money in banks. The banks will automatically flip them over to stablecoins, offer them rewards, and still have assets under management and go use that. The difference is going to be, well, are those stablecoins protected the way cash is protected, at least in the United States, right? So that's going to be a problem. That's going to be an issue. That's going to be something I pay attention to for sure. For sure. Right? Meaning, is the FDIC going to be behind that? Right? Are they going to be insured? If they're not, then why would I put my money, why would I give my money to the bank? I would just do what I do. Excuse me. So if I'm doing what I do, what's the incentive for me to use a bank's proprietary stablecoin? It'll work with that bank if I want to maneuver money within that bank. What is the purpose of that again? I'm going to give money to my kids? Huh. No, that's not going to be it. Tonight's question. Who transferred 58,390 BTC over to Fidelity? Coinbase, Tether, BlackRock, or other? If it's other, drop it in the comments. And other could be, I don't know. Or it could be your best guess. But drop it in the comments. It's kind of a big deal. But about this whole, RWA thing, I literally heard somebody the other day talking about there's going to be a different flavor of stable coins and you'll be able to use them in different ways. Tell me you don't know about how digital assets work without telling me you don't know how digital assets work. You know what I mean? Like, I listened to that person. I just sat there and I was like, he said that out loud. And he sounded like ChatGPT, saying something wrong, but doing it full chested. Nearly cracked me up. I had to hold it in. FDIC is 700 billion in reserves to back 11 trillion. Sounds solid. Hutanic, you get the first ticket to the corner tonight for making me laugh. Go. And where's Patient One? I haven't heard from her in a bit. Let her know how I feel. Feeling disrespected. But think about that. This person said it as if they knew. As if stablecoins were going to hold a different value than whatever fiat they're pegged to. Excuse me, sir. What? Did you said that out loud? And you meant it. I think my fear is that you meant it. That's wow. I had to stop and think about that for a moment. I literally had to stop and think about that for a moment. It's insane. Absolutely insane. And everybody on Facebook, I apologize right now because I didn't have the button clicked to include you guys. I'm sorry. But it's on now. So when you do your own research, understand where that research is coming from, please. Do me that one little favor, right? Oh, that's interesting. Now it's telling me I don't have a strong enough feed. Are you serious? Are you joking? It's funny because I added Facebook. It's supposed to go from me to Vimeo, and then Vimeo shoots out to everybody else. That's why I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't care. I don't care. I'm gonna have to find it. I'm gonna have to find a true backup for all this stuff. But I mean, I really like Vimeo when it's working. When it's working, it is the best. But when it's not, it is so annoying. I guess I'm annoyed because it's been working so well for all this time. Anyway, I digress. Stable coins are pegged to fiat. So if it's pegged to the dollar, one stable coin is going to be $1. Whatever the value of the dollar is, it will be $1. If it's pegged to the yen, Whatever value the yen is, it will be pegged to the yen. One stable coin, 1 yen. That's how stable coins work. It's because they're kind of called stable coins. The idea that you're going to have a stable coin that's going to be worth more because it's tied to RWA or real estate, I really had to stop and hold my tongue. My brother was on that call last Friday, and I typed to him, please let me know if I need to fix my face. Because I'm one of those people. I might not say anything, but I'm horrible at fixing my face. You will know what I'm thinking. You will absolutely know what I'm thinking. I think the only person worse than that is my eldest daughter. She cannot. It is impossible for her to fix her face. Impossible. She's not holding back. She's absolutely not holding back. Her face will say it all. She won't have to say a word. You'll just cry. You will just cry. Just saying. I think that, like I said, I think they're going to be maybe a handful of stable coins, some that have been here forever. More views through Roku or YouTube. People want to watch it on TV, in my opinion. You are going to own the corner, sir. You're going to own the corner. I was speaking to my oldest son, who is, I run all my marketing ideas against my youngest boy. And he thinks I should focus on what I'm doing now. Don't worry about Roku. And I said, I think we should do Roku. We already have the code. We should just do it. So when we launch the new site, we're probably just going to polish off the Roku look and feel and just throw it up. That's probably what's going to happen. But we have to figure out, well, how do you do that mixed in with live TV? Because we have 2 shows. One of them, we have technically 4 shows, but they happen in the morning, after, you know what I mean, on various times. So we need to know when there's going to be a live, and then when there's just going to be content. You could just go search for content. And we're working on something else. We're working on something else that could really step up that game. So don't say anything to him. Don't say anything to him. He might get upset. But yeah, I have a funny. Well, I mean, you have YouTube. That's one of the reasons why he was like, if they want to watch it on television, they'll turn it on YouTube. And then one of my other friends was like, yeah, but it's another thing when I can just click on GMB TV. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, you want all the money from the advertisers, right? You don't want to go through all that. I said, yeah, all right. So we're probably going to do something. It's just a timing thing. It really is a timing thing. Now, Ripple, did you notice Ripple took over Times Square? Ripple's Times Square billboards and Franklin Templeton's XRPZ ETF launch signaled XRP's institutional adoption. It did. It absolutely did. Institutions are jumping all over. Yeah, we're going to remove that because, we don't mention other people's shows on somebody else's show. That's just a bad luck thing. I think that it's one of those things where Ripple got ISO 20022 compliant. Then you heard about Swift saying, yeah, we're going to get rid of the old one and we're going to go ISO 20022 compliance all the way. And it's obviously in reaction. Yeah, say that. I don't put other people's stuff on my show. I had somebody ask me the other day would I do somebody else's podcast, and I said, sure, especially if they don't talk about what I talk about. Right? So doing stocks in translation is great because it's stocks in translation, and crypto is an afterthought. It's kind of like an add-on. Love that, right? Because we're in the same space, but we're not stepping on each other's toes. Would I do something where it's a show, it's all about crypto, and they just have a stream of different people talking about crypto? No, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in talking about If you've got a general show talking about investment, maybe. But our whole GMB, the whole thing is about investing. So it would be great if it was like one of the big news networks or one of the big TV networks talking about just general stuff, and then they said, we're going to have a crypto segment because we're going to tie that all into an investment day kind of thing. Okay, cool, that'd be awesome. They don't do what I do, no stepping on toes, no overlapping. So when I say include a link back to my site, they don't have a problem with it, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of a big deal. But this whole RWA thing, this whole ISO 20022 thing, I said to an old school financial technologist, I think Swift is going to go away. And he looked at me cross-eyed and was like, I think Swift will be here like forever. And I sat there and I thought about it for a second. I didn't say anything, but my thought was, you're thinking that banks are going to be here forever. That's immediately, as soon as he said it, that's immediately what I thought. You, sir, think banks are going to be here forever. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that banks will change so much that maybe the word bank will move and morph, but it's not going to be what's there now. Why do I believe that? The reason why I believe that, I don't think Facebook ever connected. The reason why I believe that is because, yeah, that's crazy that it's not up. That's actually weird. But that's all right. I'll get over it. I will get over it. We'll see. I might cry a little bit, but I don't know that I care that much. But I think that banks need to redefine themselves, and I've been saying that for a while, and I haven't been kidding about it. Banks are going to have to figure out, why do people come to banks? Because people can now invest on their own in just about everything, right? So what they're going to come to a bank for is going to be what? You go to a bank for a loan, but I can do DeFi with that. And if a whole bunch of apps start proliferating the market like Aave's app, you sit there and you kind of go, so what do I need a bank for? And then you start to realize, well, banks are trying to do everything they can to keep people pulled in, right? Like paying rent can go toward your credit score. Like they're doing all kinds of things to make it easier for you to go to a bank to get a loan. Do you think that's on purpose? That is absolutely on purpose. Why is that? Crypto is coming along and nipping at banks. Well, because the money that would have gone into a bank is going into crypto. The money that would have gone to a bank is going directly into stocks. The money that went into a bank, so think crypto, think Robinhood, think now Kraken, think all of these other alternative places where I can invest directly. Why am I putting my money into a bank? And nobody really has an answer for that. You know what I mean? Nobody really has an answer for that. And I'm kind of like, damn, that kind of hurts when you really stop and think about it. I'm kind of like, well, that sucks. It doesn't suck for us because we do what we do. But for a bank, I'm kind of thinking, yeah, you guys need to get this together. Right? It's a bigger deal than what most people think. What else happened today? SEC's Investor Advisory Committee discussed blockchain-based equities, with NASDAQ proposing tokenized stocks compliant with regulation NMS, highlighting risks of unregulated assets and potential Q3 2026 live trading. Now, NASDAQ has been making some moves. NASDAQ has been making some moves. I think the biggest move the NASDAQ has made, besides that statement, is putting money into Gemini and having Gemini implement their technology into Gemini's platform. Big moves. Because I said it as soon as that news came out. What did I say? I said, well, we should probably be paying attention to tokenized stocks. We should absolutely be paying attention to that because NASDAQ has now positioned itself to be able to do it. Wow. And some people sit there and they kind of go, no. And you kind of go, no, that's a thing. That could very well be a thing. And then you're kind of like, ooh, that's moving quicker than, let's say, the New York Stock Exchange. SIBO has been all over this whole thing. You have exchanges around the world, traditional stock exchanges around the world that are kind of like, oh, we should do something. Even if it's just meant to hedge our bets, we should probably do something. And then you're like, whoa. What's the biggest thing coming? The biggest thing coming is absolutely real world assets. It is by far real world assets being tokenized. And so if you're a traditional financial company, you've got to hedge your bets. And if you're hedging your bets, you also kind of sit there, if you're really doing your research, because what do? Do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberately. If you're a traditional financial institution, you have got to know that if you make no change, your days are numbered. If you make no change whatsoever, your days are numbered. And some people will be like, no. I want you to think about how JP Morgan's news that they linked their Kinesis system to Yes Bank's system via, with their two blockchains and everything, that was big news. Except for me, I don't think anybody's ever talked about it. I don't think anybody's said anything because everybody's talking about XRP. Think about that. Everybody's talking about XRP. Holy wow, Batman. Holy wow. So when you look at it like that, massive change coming. Like back-to-back tidal waves, just pounding the rocks. It's going to change things. It's absolutely going to change things. There's no getting around that. Right? And you start to realize, holy moly, yeah, no, we're in a space of change. We're absolutely in a space of change. And that's why I say, if you are a big bank, little bank, you have to be thinking about crypto. You're definitely not looking at other banks as your competitors anymore. Look at tiny little PNC Bank. They're only slightly larger than a regional bank in the United States. Yeah. They cut a deal with Coinbase because they knew what was coming. Not was, what came, right? Crypto's here. Crypto's here. What's going on, A-Pause? Thank you for letting us know that you're invested in yourself. And so they said, we're going to cut a deal. We cannot afford to go build that ourselves. That's going to take work and it's going to take time. And time is of the essence. Boom, they cut a deal. They didn't cut a deal for 1 crypto, 2 crypto, 3. they cut a deal. Everything. Yes. And then you start to realize, wow, by cutting that deal to be able to do everything, you're going to have people start to look at PNC Bank. I would love for PNC Bank to come out once a month. PNC Bank, if you have anybody there, an executive that's there, reach out to me. I would love to cover your monthly growth in the crypto space. I would love to cover that. So if you know anybody, send them my way. Would love to. Love to. The little bank that could. The little bank that said, of course we're going to do that. Everybody else is sleeping so hard, they're snoring. Look at what everybody else is doing. Everybody. 3 coins. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Remember what I said? How are you working with Solana and completely bypassing XRP? What? I can understand you bypassing BNB chain. I can totally get that, right? It's not based in the United States. If you're a United States bank, I completely understand. But if you're in the United States, how did you... I'm still having problems understanding that thought process. How did you just say, no, we'll pass on XRP. We're going to pass on 2 coins that are massively larger than that third coin that you're choosing to work with. Say what now? And here's tiny little PNC saying, oh no, we're going to do everything with Coinbase. Imagine that back and forth that they're going to wind up building out with Coinbase as their back end for crypto actions. Wow. It was a major move when they announced it. It's even a bigger move now when you look at what everybody else is saying. Nobody else has that kind of deal on the table. 3 coins. 3 coins. When you say you're going to support custodial services for 3 coins, all you're saying is that this whole thing is an afterthought and we barely gave any thought. That's what that says. And they're scrambling to make even that work. Wow. Serious? And then we're going to trust you for RWA. Now you see where everything is going, right? Why would I have any interest in any bank that's going to do RWA? I'm not going to be interested in you. I'm not going to be interested in any bank that's going to try to do real world assets, to try to tokenize things themselves. Nope. Find yourself a partner that's strong, that can do it. Do that. Maybe I can believe in you. But just remember that if whatever you tokenize is probably not going to stay with you. Stitch is acting up. Sounds like one of my kids is going to the store. Told you, my kid Stitch does not let. Once you're home, you're not supposed to leave the house again. Even if you forgot something in the car and you walk back in the house, that is not supposed to be a thing. You should leave it in the car, as far as he's concerned. He's like that. But you start to realize, wow, exactly why would I trust you? Why would I trust you? You and your cheesy bank, you couldn't even call crypto correct. You had... When did Ripple win? Stop and think about this. I'm being kind by identifying when Ripple won. Like basically when it was over. Because at that moment, you could work with Ripple. Nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be any backlash from the government or anything else like that. So you had all the way from then. We won't talk about the fact that a lot of these banks that are still stuck with deer in the headlights kind of looks, that they had been working with Ripple way back. Yeah, some of these banks have had, crypto in their sites for years. For years. Everybody wonders why I come down so hard on the banking industry. This is why. This is not new tech. They visited this a while ago. I mean, heck, Citi resurrected its crypto scheme. Yeah. So when I look at banks and they're just hopping on board, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Got to be kidding me. So yeah, we're looking at a time right now where banks still hold power and control, but it's slipping away really, really quickly. Really, really quickly. So I just wonder, like, so how's that going to work? It's only going to work if those banks wake up and kind of go, okay, we have to redefine what a bank is. Because you're not going up against other banks. You're going up against whole new thought processes. Fractionalized stocks. Tokenize this, tokenize that. Fractionalized stocks came before. They got bigger after crypto. Tokenized real estate. Fractionalized real estate. See where this is going? These are not new concepts that crypto came out and said, we invented this. No, that's not what happened. We just made it easier. Or crypto just made it easier. That's what I mean. And you have some banks out there that don't even do fractionalized stocks yet. What? Huh? Okay. Like for real, for real. And then you're kind of like, look at all these new platforms that have popped up that are doing all this stuff, and you're not. You're not. Makes me stop and wonder. S&P Global warned that Tether USDT could lose its one-to-one USD peg due to Bitcoin declines and opaque reserves. Opaque reserves. Documented that they hold U.S. Treasuries. They were ranked to be ranked on certain lists. You needed to prove it. Well, they're ranked. They hold 112 or 116 metric tons of gold. And hold on. And Tether's market cap is only 184, call it $185 billion. I get it. I completely get it. The only thing that you can come after Tether is, well, they don't document how much in reserves that they have. That's been the story since day one. Through everything that's happened, S&P decides to come out and say something about Tether. That's been said since day one. Shouldn't you be focused on something else? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but they downgraded Tether to weak. Okay. And it's not that I'm sticking up for Tether. It's that I'm looking at, you're grasping at things from way, way back. Meanwhile, they're being ranked. They're being ranked in other places. I'm just like, okay. Are you going after any other stablecoin? I mean, any other stablecoin? No, right? Okay. And again, there are so many other things that the S&P could be focused on, but they're focused on bringing up this old trope. And you sit there and you just kind of go, okay, all right. You're an index, right? Companies, that publicly traded companies, right? Tokenized stocks, right? RWA, right? And you're worried about Tether. Even if you were worried about Tether, doesn't USDC exist? What about all the other Genius Act compliant stablecoins? I mean, USDC is at 75 billion. Call it 76 billion. And but you want to come out with a statement like that. I think before you throw stones, you should kind of look at your own house. See how many windows you need to have replaced. Notice how I was being nice. I didn't say a glass house. Just how many windows need to be replaced. Yeah. The gaskets on your windows probably need to be redone. Yeah. Just thinking out loud there for you. Because it's kind of a big deal. I feel like I'm watching traditional finance just flopping around like a fish out of water, just flopping around, when you should be thinking more strategically about what do we bring to the table? What do we indeed bring to the table? Instead, you want to ostracize strategy. Okay. We'll ostracize strategy, and we'll keep them off of some indexes and lists and all that good stuff. Why? Some people have been around the world have been saying the same thing. It's a bunch of old men that don't want to yield to the new world. Wow. Let that sink in for a minute. A bunch of old men that don't want to yield to the new world. That right there should make you stop and think, holy moly, now that's interesting. That one right there should have you thinking, that's different. Right? Because at some point, you've got to say to yourself, yeah, why are they fighting so hard against the inevitable? I'm not saying that crypto is all powerful, but you cannot ignore it. You can't ignore it. As an industry, you can't ignore it. What did I tell you guys before? First, you have investment in the space. But now, how many things are you hearing that are infrastructure related? Meaning, companies aren't just investing in the technology, investing in coins and projects. They're implementing the technology. So if you're a bank or you're the S&P 500 and you look at a deal between NASDAQ and Gemini, where Gemini has to implement NASDAQ's tech into their platform, you don't think, that they looked at Kraken and said, Kraken is a full-blown investment platform. Let that sprinkle over you for a little bit. Full-blown investment platform. I think that's one of the reasons why NASDAQ did it. And they saw an opportunity with Gemini because Gemini was in trouble, needed the prestige, needed the influx of a couple of bucks, need to have a win. So integrating NASDAQ's tech into their platform would be a huge win. And then all you have to do is sit back and go, what else is NASDAQ going to do? Dead serious. You sit there and then you go, wow, what is NASDAQ going to do? Because that's just the beginning. You could basically list out everything that they could do and just pick out which ones are going to come first. Again, I look at fractionalized stocks. I look at why? Because RWA. On a preferred platform, no less. See where that's going? They want to be able to stay or remain involved in an IPO process and not just be sitting on the sidelines losing out as they watch all of these stocks get bought up and get tokenized. Notice how I said tokenized. Because what do I need the NASDAQ for at that point? See where I'm going? That's why I look at the news. I'm looking at the news now. Before it was all about, investment and all that good stuff. That's cute. Partnerships, that's cute. I'm looking for infrastructure moves now. You get those infrastructure moves, and that's when you start realizing, oh boy, this is serious. And we're seeing these infrastructure moves. Ripple is a glaring example of an infrastructure move. Ripple wants to be the rails. They've always wanted to be the institutional rails. That's why XLM was born, so that they could be retail rails. And look at how it's working out. Wow. Wow. And then I sit there and I just kind of say to myself, these are all opportunities for me to pay attention, as I should. Infrastructure is where it's at. And if I can extrapolate from this infrastructure move and other infrastructure moves, if I can take all of that, put it together, what do I see? What vivid color picture is drawn for me? Just saying. I do not know if Kraken can do Forex. I know they can do stocks. I could have sworn they bought a prime brokerage. We already know that they're a bank, and we already know that they are their own exchange for crypto. How robust of an investment platform is that? Quietly. You don't hear them talking about a whole bunch of stuff. They're doing everything quietly. The news gets out there. Yeah, the news is going to get out there, but then that's it. They're not really getting out there and really promoting any of it. They're making moves quietly. And then you turn around and you kind of go, what's the difference between Kraken and a full-blown investment bank? And that's when you start choking and you start realizing, holy moly, when did that happen? Take any investment bank and hold it up against Kraken. Kraken won't compare to size, right? But in terms of building out services, not just services, but robust services, I don't know. You got to show Kraken some respect. You got to show them some respect. Those are some of the... When Kraken went and bought NinjaTrader, that's when I knew everything was flipping over to become infrastructure. That was like a solid move to me that infrastructure is being built out now. The rails are being put in. And then here's Ripple. Another massive move. Most people are thinking, oh, it's not that big a deal. Wait, what? ISO 222 compliant. The amount of value that will traverse through Ripple will be amazing. And it's already there. They don't have any... You're not going to do any more proofs of concept. That's done. They've already proven. Security-wise, that's done. Already proven. Speed, done. Proven. That's when you start thinking about it. That's when you start thinking about it. That's why I said, I think that you're really going to start to see how infrastructure is... 2026 is the infrastructure year. 2025 ushered it in. I think 2026, that will be the booming message throughout the year. Because remember, everything that we're hearing now about infrastructure is that we're going to do. 2026 is going to be, look at what we did. Look at what we did. And then the next one will be, look at what we're doing. Look what people are doing on our rails, on our infrastructure. There'll be releases like, oh, look at how much value is moved over this day and that day and da 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 da. Sort of like how they report on inflows and outflows for ETFs. Now, yeah, right? Right? You start thinking about that and you're like, oh, damn. That's when you start realizing things are about to get real. That's when you start realizing that BUIDL and its interoperability, Cardano and its interoperability, the privacy coins, that's when you start to put it all together. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Banks are going to have to redefine what the hell they are. And why could you think of them as still being important? Okay? Put that to the side. Then you start to realize, well, wait a minute. What happens when municipalities start accepting crypto for tax payments? Oh, that's a wrap. That means that the time for countries to figure out what impact that's going to have on their fiat, and I don't mean just their fiat, I mean all fiat. Paul said it. The Swiss franc is probably the only stable fiat out there. Possibly. But everybody else is going to be sitting back going, what are we doing? You have countries out there, some a little bit less developed than others, that are really turning to crypto because they don't trust the government's fiat. That's going to be huge. APAWS is sharing that eToro, Binance, and Kraken offer certain Forex trading. I'm not even worried about Forex trading. Given everything that's going on now, I'm a little fearful of Forex trading. Think about what I'm talking about. Think about the points that I'm making. I don't know that I want to be involved in fiat from a Forex perspective. Nah, I'm good off that. Nope. I'm okay. That's what makes it amazing. That right there makes me stop and go, oh, that's probably not how we want to be looking at things right now. Now you know why I'm looking at infrastructure moves. I'm looking at investments. I'm looking at partnerships. I'm looking at RWA opportunities. That's what I'm looking at. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And that's what I'm preparing for. I'm preparing for banks to, I'm looking at certain banks just fading away. Large and small. Some of the small ones will be fine. Believe it or not. Some of the smaller ones will be fine. They'll be better if they grasp on the crypto, but some of them will be fine. Some of them serve a serious purpose. I can easily see how big banks, the ones that were out there consolidating, buying smaller banks and just making the problem go away, I can see how they get split up. Just split into their separate businesses. Think about that. A lot of the bigger banks, they've got an investment management business. They've got a wealth management business. They each have the different businesses. And then they also have traditional banking, mortgages, loans, that kind of stuff. I can easily see how things get broken up because you could just see how they get broken up. I know that's kind of a lame excuse, but when you stop and you think about it, you have to say to yourself that, well, not all parts are going to survive. Banks, why do you think banks are looking into DeFi so hard? Banks really are looking into DeFi hard. What can we do? What's our path? They're looking into DeFi in a massive fashion because that's one of the things that they're trying to define right now. If everybody's going to run to DeFi because banks aren't giving them everything, then how do we join or mimic DeFi? Why do you think banks are trying to fight giving rewards for stablecoins? They don't want that because then you absolutely would have zero reason to be at a bank. None. Not some, but none. And that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, you're looking at it. We're right now looking at how the whole traditional finance industry is going to be turned upside down in 2026 and 2027. That definition of who they are, what they do, what they bring to the table had better be worked out pretty damn quick in 2026. The days of sitting on your butts and not doing anything, having a lack of leadership in the space, those days are over. Name a banker right now. Name a bank right now that's had really forward-thinking leadership. Name one. Name one. Yeah. That'll make you stop and wonder. So like I said, resting on your laurels, resting on the name that you used to have way back in the day, that name means Jack right now. You better come up with a plan for 2026. And I mean a plan of true action. True action. I don't think we're that far away from MasterCard hanging their logo on top of Zero Hash. If they do that, that's going to be more than a shot across the bow. That's going to be a shot that's going to take out one of the masts. Massive, massive move. I'm sure you have other banks that are looking at buying similar companies to Zero Hash. Again, massive, massive moves. That's what I'm expecting. Catch up and catch on. But what do we do at Grow My Bag? What do we do in this community? We do our own research. We know our entries and exits, and we absolutely invest deliberately. Those three, the GMB3, that is what drives me onward and upward, not forward, onward and upward. It is not enough for me to move forward. Thank you, Dr. Brindle. May you rest in peace. That's where I learned it from. It is not enough for us to move forward. We must move onward and upward, period. That's it. Because up here, they want to increase that moat. They want to increase that moat from the haves to have-nots. They don't want the have-nots to even have a dream, an inkling of owning something. That's like a nah. And if you do own something, it'll only be down there. Not up here. So we've got to make massive moves. And I hope you're all listening and doing that. I hope you're all thinking about doing your own research, knowing your entries and exits, and absolutely investing deliberately. I'm no longer entertaining content, entertaining comments from people or conversations with people that are thinking about, well, thank you, Ham's House, GMB3. I'm no longer contemplating those kinds of conversations with people about, I don't think crypto is no reason for me to waste my time. Bye-bye. No reason for me to waste my time. I've published 2 freaking books. Go catch up. This community, we've moved on. If you're new and trying to learn, cool. That's awesome. But I'm not entertaining people that are still talking about, oh, crypto's a scam. That's a lot of money to be spent on a scam. Billions being moved on a daily basis, and you're still calling it a scam. Not wasting my breath on you, and I don't care who the hell you are. Somebody said to me, but why would you do that, Eddie? Some people, it's hard for them to keep up. My mother is into crypto. And as you can see with all this white, I'm no spring chicken. My mother is in the crypto. So that whole lame excuse that people can't learn, my mother's in the crypto. You got no excuse. None. I hear a young person, crypto. No. Yeah, no, please shut up. Go take many a seat. Don't come to me anymore. I don't have time for you. You want to learn? You want to learn more? You can be a skeptic, but if you still want to learn more, I'm down for that. I'm down for that. But if all you're going to do is sit there and spew nonsense about things that you don't know about, yeah, I'm not wasting time on you. Nope. Because me and mine, we're investing. We're investing. We're not buying stuff. We're investing. Because we understand that things are changing so drastically. When you can look up and you can look at 3 companies owning like 30,000 starter homes in Georgia. 30,000. One owns 11,000. Those homes will never be for sale again. That's not what they're doing. They're going into whole neighborhoods, buying out the homes, renting them, and then going out and buying the supporting businesses. Plumbers, electricians, HVACs, lawn care, everything, you name it, they're buying it all out. They're buying the names as well. And the reason why that's important is because when they buy the names, the commercials that run are using the same name that everybody's, used to, comfortable with. And they still think that everybody is a competitor. So I can go get competitive pricing, not realizing that they're all owned by the same company now. Yeah. We're going to have to invest just to survive. Not in it for the games anymore, folks. We're not here for the games. We're here for our futures. So strap in. It'll be a bumpy ride. It'll be a fun ride. And if you do it right and you try, maybe you can grow your bags. And I'm confident that we'll be able to grow our bags. I'm confident. So anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. I hope you like what I'm doing. If you do, do me a favor, smash the likes. Tell your friends about this community because it is like no other. Care about each other. We care about growing our bags. We care about sharing information like what Hutanik just shared. They target 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes. This is what we do. We share information. We learn from each other so that we can each grow our bags. What I don't know, I ask the community. I honestly do. And I have my nose in the news all day, every day. And I still ask for help. That ought to be a message that you bring home. As always, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And absolutely, thank you for your trust. Me and my team, we will fight for that every day. Everybody have a great night. Have a great fatty day tomorrow. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to do a show. We'll see. I'm probably not going to do a morning show. That's for doggone sure. I plan on sleeping in tomorrow. And I'll be greeted with my cappuccino. That's how I'm looking at it. If I do a show, it'll be earlier in the day because all the family will be here. The whole family will be here, and we'll all be getting fat and having fun. Anyway, everybody, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And again, thank you for your trust. Have a great night. Bye-bye.